Hello, and welcome to the December 2025 monthly market report. I'm Mark Meras, and I'm joined by my business partner Kyle Kreick, and together we're the co-founders of Paragon Realty Advisors based right here in Uptown Dallas, where we help buyers and sellers across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex make smart, data-driven real estate decisions. Today's report is especially important as we close out the year because it addresses the exact questions we're hearing at holiday gatherings, client meetings, and casual conversations everywhere. First, we're going to talk about renting versus buying and why on the surface renting appears to be cheaper in nearly every major US market right now. Then we're going to break down why home ownership still remains one of the most powerful long-term wealth building tools, even in a challenging affordability environment. And finally, we're going to walk through the real opportunities buyers have right now, including rising inventory, longer days on the market, price reductions, and builder incentives, and why this moment rewards preparation and professional guidance. So let's dive right in.
Thanks, Mark. Let's start with renting versus buying. The biggest headline shaping today's housing conversation comes from Bankrate. According to their data, renting a home is currently cheaper than paying a mortgage in all 50 of the largest U.S. metro areas in 2025. And the cost difference has grown in 38 of those metros just over the past year. And when people hear that, the reaction is understandable. When you rent, you see one monthly number. When you own, your costs include property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and principal and interest. So yes, on a monthly basis, renting often looks easier. But here's the part that rarely gets said out loud. Everyone who lives indoors pays a mortgage. The only question is whether you're paying your own or someone else's.
That's a great point, Kyle, about paying a mortgage, whether it's your own versus somebody else's. Now, here's where the conversation becomes more nuanced. Mark Fleming, chief economist at First American, points out that affordability isn't collapsing. It's actually improving in more places than most people realize. 35 of the top 50 US markets posted year-over-year affordability improvements, and 48 out of 50 improved month over month. That momentum matters. Affordability doesn't snap back overnight. It improves slowly, then gradually, and then suddenly enough people can re-enter the market. For many buyers, the short-term challenge of saving for a down payment exists at the same time as the long-term financial benefits of ownership, and those two realities coexist. This is exactly where perspective matters.
And that's where this next piece of data becomes so important, which is wealth over time. When you look at the cumulative financial impact of owning versus renting over time, the difference is striking. First American's research shows that homeowners build wealth steadily through equity, while renters experience a cumulative financial outflow with no asset being created. The longer someone owns a home, the more powerful that effect becomes. This is why home ownership has remained the primary wealth building tool for most American households, decade after decade.
Here's a concept that most people have never had explained clearly: when a home pays you. To calculate the real cost of home ownership, First American assumes a 30-year fixed mortgage with 5% down on a medium-priced home. Then they adjust for equity. When prices rise, the equity you gain reduces your effective cost of owning. And when equity gains exceed your other ownership costs, the home effectively pays you to live there. That is not marketing, that's math. And it's why time matters more than timing. Across every time interval studied, homeowners who stayed in their home long enough saw equity gains exceed total ownership costs. In other words, time smooths volatility. And that matters here in North Texas, where long-term population growth, job creation, and household formation continue to support housing demand, even through short-term cycles.
So the natural question becomes, does this mean now is a good time to buy? According to Redfin's chief economist, Daryl Fairweather, nationally now is a good time to buy if you can afford it. Prices are still climbing, but buyers are benefiting from more inventory, improving mortgage conditions, and increased negotiating power. That said, she also emphasizes something critical. Local markets vary widely, which is why national headlines never tell the full story, and why local guidance matters more than ever. And here's a data point that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention. According to Zillow, buyer affordability has reached a 3-year high. That doesn't mean homes are suddenly cheap, but it does mean conditions have shifted meaningfully compared to the last few years. And buyers today have more leverage than many realize.
That shift shows up clearly in consumer sentiment and renter optimism. Realtor.com surveys indicate that the majority of renters still expect to become homeowners either within the next 2 years or shortly after. That demand hasn't disappeared. It's waiting. And in many cases, it's waiting for clarity and education. Now let's talk about where the opportunity actually exists today. According to Realtor.com, the last time the US had this much inventory was in November of 2019. Active listings are up 15.3% year over year, and total number of homes for sale has topped 1 million listings for 6 consecutive months. More inventory means more options. More options means more leverage. And that's a very different dynamic than what buyers have experienced from 2020 through 2022.
At the same time, days on market are returning to pre-pandemic norms. The median home is now spending roughly 60 to 65 days on market, which closely mirrors what we saw in 2018 and 2019. This is what a balanced market looks like. And it's also a reminder that sellers need to reset expectations formed during the frenzy years. And with that normalization comes something buyers haven't seen in a while: price reductions. The share of listings with price cuts has returned to historically normal levels, and those reductions are becoming more consistent across regions. During the quieter fall and winter months, sellers are more willing to negotiate, especially when homes sit longer than expected. For prepared buyers, this creates real opportunity.
Nowhere is that more visible than in new construction. According to the National Association of Home Builders, 41% of builders cut their prices in November, with the average reduction around 6%. At the same time, 65% of builders are also offering incentives, including rate buy-downs, closing cost assistance, and upgrades. In some cases, major builders are devoting a significant portion of their home's value to concessions just to keep sales moving. That is leverage buyers simply didn't have a few years ago. And this is where professional guidance makes all the difference. As NerdWallet puts it, a good buyer's agent helps you identify the right opportunities, structure competitive offers, and negotiate effectively, especially in a market that's shifting this quickly. This is no longer an autopilot market.
As we wrap up the year, it's worth acknowledging reality. The past couple of years have been challenging, not broken, but slower. And looking ahead, Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist at National Association of Realtors, expects a measurable increase in sales next year, potentially in the 10 to 15% range. This is a transitional period, and preparation wins transitions. The bottom line is this is a professional's market. Buyers who understand the data, work with experienced advisors, and act strategically are finding opportunities others miss.
At Paragon Realty Advisors, we bring you this report to cut through the noise and provide real actionable insight so you can make confident decisions in any market. If you want deeper local guidance, visit us at www.paragondfw.com. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bells, and leave a comment below. We read every one. Thanks for watching our December 2025 monthly market report. Enjoy the holidays, take time to recharge, and we'll see you next month with our January report. All the best.